have to go play to get it. Well, you have to play the chance to get it.
Aha. We shall see. Oh, the cars are still on the track. Guess they haven't called it yet. Darlington, I was like, what's funny is like the race was today and then started at 6 and they panned on pit road and it was like a sea of people. And I looked at Nick and I'm like, how are they going to get? Because they had a ticker on the screen, like 11 minutes till countdown. And I'm like, how are they going to get all them people off of pit road in 11 minutes? Then the skies opened up and it started pouring the rain and Nick goes, that's how. Because people just start taking off running.
You shouldn't run in traffic.
Well, one guy was running backwards because he wanted to try to see Denny Hamlin, and he ended up running right into the camera. And he turned around like, oh, sorry. But Denny Hamlin won yesterday's Xfinity race, and then his car was too low in post-race inspection, so they disqualified him for the first time. This is the first season they've ever done that. Huh?
Too low?
Yeah, like the left front was too low in their technical inspection, and the right rear was too high.
There we go. I think the button was on there. Sorry.
It's the first year NASCAR's like, you know what? We're going to take wins away.
Ooh. What do you know? We get to start off Corner to Corner Wrestling Radio with the story of cars. Denny Hamlin.
Well, maybe you should learn how to turn the button on and tell people that you're recording.
I know, right? I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, we're live, and I'm talking and looking around going, what in the world's going on? And hearing Denny Hamlin getting bumped into with a camera, and like, oh, wait, there's...
I was doing my part so we didn't have dead air. Sorry.
I appreciate you because you saved us from
I will go back on mute and you all can talk.
Oh, no. Rob. It's way too early for that. We got to at least, get a couple of good digs in or something. Jeez. Oh, goodness. It's the AEW All Out Fallout from, a hit pay-per-view last night. Wrapped up right around midnight. Tons of action to talk about. Tons of news to talk about. We've got the crowning of the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Champion to discuss. We've got... from what I read last night, the first departure from the roster. Not exactly certain as to what it's stemming from, but got that news to talk about. And we're just going to go over and talk about our bet. Who is going to buy dinner for who? That is the question. The bet itself was about the time of the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers matchup. And the guesstimates from each of us, some specific, some not so much. I had said initially 35 minutes. Rob had said 36 minutes, 27 seconds, 57 milliseconds, and 18 streamers.
Well, there were no streamers.
This is true. There were no streamers. And Brian had 26 minutes and 34 seconds. So, without further ado, should we go ahead and just unveil the winner of the first corner-to-corner predictions bet?
Sure.
Well, no, it ain't me because there wasn't no streamer, so.
Well, I guess the question here, really, we should answer that question with a question, and that's, so Brian, I have a question for you. Do you prefer cheese with your Whopper, or do you just like the Impossible Burger?
Well, if y'all are buying dinner, we're going bigger than the Impossible Burger.
Oh, no, not bigger than that's impossible, Brian.
No, that might be a steak dinner.
Oh, Lord. Cube steak. So Brian actually wins with 26 minutes, 34 seconds, but the time of the match was just under 21 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
Brian doesn't win either.
That's not true. In the
The
price.
closest, like the Price is Right rules, is whoever's closest without going over.
Ooh, Bob Barker rule. We just got thrown at us.
It was not explained that night. You guys lost. We'll cash up on another day.
I still say Robbie gets an Impossible Burger, and there we go. We're done.
I said he gets a kid's meal.
The girl's toy. What a great pay-per-view. All Elite Wrestling has been delivering in a very, very prosperous way for these since their debut. It is really the best way to put it. They have been delivering with in-the-ring action, with storylines, and with continuity, making sure that fans understand what's happening on the screen as it happens. The amount of confusion that you saw initially, like for example when the Dark Order first debuted, it has dwindled down so much to where you see maybe one or two small, I guess what's a good way to describe it, gaffes or mix-ups, but nothing even close to half as bad or even close to a quarter of as it was when they first started. They're making such great strides. I want to say that this pay-per-view, in my opinion, was much more well-rounded than Double or Nothing, since it had more story to it. But I don't know if it was better than Double or Nothing.
You don't know if it was better.
Yeah, I mean, Double or Nothing was pretty awesome. It really was. There was just great matches all around, but there weren't really a lot of storylines to it. But this one, for All Out, I really liked the fact that they had a lot of continuity. They had the storyline with Kenny Omega. They had the storyline with Jericho and Paige. And of course, I mean, you can't go wrong with Cody and Shawn Spears. And the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. They're seemingly the end of one feud and the beginning of another, quite possibly. So I like what we're seeing with what All Elite is bringing to the table right now.
Well, I think when it comes to like Double or Nothing and comparing it All Out to Double or Nothing or whatever, it's like the first pay-per-views, the first one's always going to have that special feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I kind of look at All In as a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't use their production company, they used established people, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Double or Nothing was their first with their people, their way, how they're going to do it in the future. And so like that's always going to hold a special place. Like, that was the first. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And All Out, it just shows that, continuity and, like you said, the storylines, the company is starting to find its foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the way that AEW is presenting their matchups and the psychology of what's happening in the ring, it really harkens back to kind of an old school feel. What do you think about that, Brian?
Well, I just think that when was Double or Nothing again?
May. That was May. Was that May 25th? May 25th, I believe.
All right. So you had Double or Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had what was next? Fighter Fest.
Yep, and then Fight for the Fallen.
And then Fight for the Fallen. The other ones, I guess they were trying, first you had Cody and Dustin trying to wrap up the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It had the continuation of the Adam Page and Jericho, Jericho and Omega. To me, some of these storylines, they were early on, they were trying to wrap up so that they wouldn't be, I guess for me, is they wouldn't necessarily need to become focal points come October 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why this one, the storylines you Bob's going mute. Look at that. Anyway, to me, the storylines were this time only revolved around what was necessary. Right? So you had Cody and Spears, you had the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, and you had the world title, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it was a little bit easier story wise this go round, because again, they're just kind of finishing up a few dangling plot lines other than the world title to get ready for October 2nd, and you'll probably get all brand new storylines. Because I don't know if as much as I like to see Omega and Pac again in a storyline, Omega's got Moxley. So if that plays out, it'll be, somewhere down the line.
Yeah, the way that things were getting laid out as far as what's going to happen next, what the storyline is going to be, wow. I like the direction that they're taking. I like the attitude that they have with it. I feel like the presentation we got as far as Jericho and Paige, even though it seemed like it was kind of the ending of that, I could very easily see it pick back up pretty much at any time. And then what we'll talk about also is kind of the aftermath, the AEW post show that they had on YouTube, where it seems like they're going from Jericho and Paige to apparently it's Paige and yeah, we all struggled with this one yesterday. Paige and Pac. It's not Pac apparently. It's Pac.
So they were right.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. So how long have we been calling him that? And oh, by the way, those of you in our audience, how long have you been letting us call them that?
I don't. He doesn't get brought up that often, so
well,
we may gap a few times, but
yeah, I mean, he has been kind of out of the spotlight for a little bit, just because of the fact that he was over in Dragon Gate.
So now is that going to lead to like a number one contender, or is Pac just trying to climb the ranks?
That remains to be seen. They haven't really laid out too much of it, but during the post show for All Elite last night for All Out, Hangman Page is basically kind of talking about how he didn't really know what he was going to do if he lost, because he didn't expect that this was going to happen. His obvious disappointment with the result of the matchup. And then as he's talking, as he is answering questions from reporters, in struts Pac, or Pac, I'm still not comfortable with how to say it, but whatever. Out he comes, and he's like, oh, well, I thought I'd come out here and maybe tell you how I feel sorry for you and everything, but honestly what it gives me is a real chance for, and the real reason I came back to All Elite Wrestling was for revenge. And then he takes a half-full water bottle and chucks it at Adam Page's head. So
they must be looking to start the feud that went nowhere fast.
Yeah. Essentially, they're just picking up right where they left off with Pac and Adam Page. So, hey Adam, I guess this is what we're doing now, huh? So.
Hey, can we call him Can we call him his other nickname?
Adam, this is what we're doing now, Paige.
No, the other one.
Neville?
No.
The king of the cruiserweights.
No, the one that starts with a B.
Oh, the Bastard Pack.
Can we just call him?
It
works better.
We can just call him the B word if that's what we're gonna do. We'll no longer call him Pack or Pac. We'll just call him the Bastard. Let it be written. Let it be done. It's gonna be entered into the C2C record book. I'm putting it in our notes right now. Pac and Pac is now to be referred to as. I'm just gonna put B word. All right, so let's go ahead and start from the buy-in and work our way up through the main event. 21 Woman Casino Battle Royale, like a royale with cheese. Great battle royal. Interesting to see some of the direction that they're taking with this, but also some cool debuts. We saw an old favorite in Ariel Monroe debuting. We saw Priscilla Kelly debut. Let's see, Evilise coming to All Elite Wrestling. B. Presley, or is that Priestley or Priestley? Sorry. And then of course we also saw Awesome Kong. But the person that really surprised me.
Wait, Tennille Dashwood.
Yes. Teal Piper. Yep. Roddy Piper's daughter. And then, of course, former NWA Women's Champion, Jazz. ODB. Let's see, who else was? Nikki Savoy made her debut. Sadie Gibbs made her debut. Shaza McKenzie, Penelope Ford. Wow, there were a lot of debuts last night.
And the Joker.
Yeah, and that one really kind of blew me away. It should have been expected that they would have contacted this woman at one point, but what a cool way to bring out, hopefully a debuting, regular appearing Mercedes Martinez, because the response she got when her music hit and she came out was pretty crazy.
Yeah, she was not one I was expecting.
No.
Especially since she's worked with the WWE on multiple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
But you snooze, you lose.
Yeah, you're going to find a lot of times now that, what one man's trash is another man's treasure kind of thing. So WWE said, no, I don't think so. Okay, no problem. We've got another place to put her and somewhere where she'll flourish, I really believe. The Battle Royal itself, the only question I had really about this, and Rob and Brian, I'm sure you guys have your own take, Nyla Rose winning this Battle Royal to advance to one half of the Women's Championship matchup at October 2nd in D.C., what do you guys think about this decision? Because there's a lot of conversation on social media right now as to whether or not Nyla Rose was a smart decision as for the first Women's Championship match.
I mean, I like the paper. I like the Battle Royal. I like the idea. I mean, the idea obviously worked with the guys last time, and it worked with the girls, the women, and the storyline kind of fell flat, if that makes sense. Like, it just kind of was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
But, because you could, at a certain point, you could see it, what was happening. You're like, oh, okay, we know where this is going. But I say give everybody a shot. In the long run, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Brian, your thought on Nyla Rose and headed to the Women's Championship matchup?
The question that I would have would be, why not?
Okay.
You give me an explanation as to why not?
There's not an explanation that I would give you from me, but I can tell you what I've been reading, which is a little disheartening.
Okay, so let's hear what the interweaves, the bobbleheads, whatever you want to say.
Keyboard warriors.
I don't even know if I'd call them keyboard warriors, because that just would suggest strength, and I'm not so sure this is a strong opinion.
Parents Wi-Fi suckers.
Ooh. Oh. Wi-Fi vampires. Leeches. There we go. So there's a lot of these folks on Twitter and Facebook, especially and I was telling you guys before we went on the air, it's just the sad state of affairs that it is for the All Elite Wrestling fan group, which I thought would be a bunch of diehard AEW kind of fans, which it really turns out to just be a real toxic group. But the going commentary right now is, and this is not popular opinion, so let me just stress that. This is not necessarily to say that we agree here as a show or whatever, but the the negativity that's coming out is really because of the fact that Nyla Rose is transgender.
I mean, I think in this day and age,
Mm-hmm.
it's time that, certain things are accepted, I guess would be the word I'm looking for. I mean, so would it made a difference if it was, I don't know, Joey Ryan and the title was a transgender title?
Oh, wow.
I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
I mean, what's the hang up? Because, or I don't understand it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's pro wrestling, and it's there to make me suspend belief and enjoy enjoy entertainment.
Right.
And if they think that she should be in that first match, and I'm going to trust them to provide the entertainment. And I'm not worried about her being transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Although I might be a little worried for her opponent, but
yeah.
What is she, 98 pounds?
Yeah, that's a real concern because, I mean, the size difference usually in wrestling is, 25, 30, 40, 50 pounds maybe. This is going to be a little bit more of a gap. This is going to be, you want to talk about David and Goliath. Yeah.
And, maybe that's what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If you put Awesome Kong instead of Nyla Rose, then you'd have to include Brandy, which might make the match a lot more one-sided. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody said she's going to win. They just
very true
in the first match.
I mean, and Brian brought up a good point. Like, if you put Awesome Kong in that slot and take Nyla Rose out, you have the same comparison.
Mm-hmm.
To the woman who is going to be facing. But the same argument has been done for years with all these people on the wrestling circuit in the different promotions that don't get their fair chance.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the gate, AEW saying, you know what, we're going to give everybody a chance. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's a chance.
Right.
Like Brian said, it's not like she doesn't mean she's going to bring the belt home.
Mm-hmm.
And what have we learned in the wrestling business is there always could be a swerve.
And the other thing to remember is no matter whether it's good or bad, if they're talking about you, they're still talking about you.
True.
So if this is what it takes for them to keep building momentum, let them build it.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those kinds of conversations or commentary pieces that comes out when people are just angry that the person they wanted didn't get it. Like,
no. I would imagine most of these people are bobbleheads.
Mm-hmm.
I said it. And they're fighting, to keep the E at a certain level, and now they have competition that they haven't had, and a lot of these fans probably have never seen the wrestling business with the WWE having competition, so they don't even know how to react themselves.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of, I guess the best way to describe it would be education when it comes to the outside world, outside of the machine. And I also think that to put down or to try to disregard what Nyla Rose has done as a professional simply because of where she chose to end up and what she feels most comfortable being is just ignorant. At the same time, you have to look at it from the perspective of life has changed. We are no longer in the 1950s where everything is a certain way and that's the only way it can be. It's just not anymore. And you made a good point. I mean, if it was Joey Ryan and he was the intergender champion or something, yeah, you're going to get the same people that complain about that because it seems like it's silly, but at the same time, are they going to make the same jokes? Are they going to, and it's I don't know. I think it's cheap heat. It's a cheap attempt to try to get attention on yourself and take away from the accomplishments of Nyla Rose. And the fact is, Nyla Rose has done a tremendous job since debuting in AEW and before then. And she's going to continue to make a presence for herself. And personally, if she becomes women's champion, I could care less. That's great. Whatever. I think we should be as fans, but also just honestly, just as adults. It's time to stop looking at it from just such a jaded point of view, or maybe such a tunnel vision point of view. But it did happen. It was said on Twitter. I thought I'd bring it up. I'm glad we could cover it in the way we did. I had a feeling our opinions would all pretty well match. So yeah, the match itself was won by Nyla Rose. She gets her shot at the Women's Championship. She will take on the winner of Riho and Hikaru Shida. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But we go from the Battle Royale to Private Party versus Angelico and Jack Evans. This matchup was hard to keep up with. It was fast.
Yeah.
Hello?
Rob having trouble keeping up already. Brian, you there?
No, you just cut off.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I don't try to call out every time something. So,
My
that's
bad.
fine.
Okay. Sorry. I thought this match. What?
That's what he's telling you.
All right. Well, my bad, man. Sorry. I felt like this matchup was very, very fast-paced. It was hard to keep track of between Private Party and Angelico and Jack Evans. These guys were just all over the place. The flips, the high spots, the drop kicks, corkscrews. There was even a point where there was 1, 2, 3. I want to say there was 4 different opportunities of the reverse Frankensteiner, or the Poison Ranas, which is what they call it, which transitioned into the finish, which was a second rope Hurricanrana into a diamond cutter, which was a great way to finish out the match. But I believe we were all matching up on Private Party winning this
one. Did we? I don't remember.
I picked Private Party, but I thought it was a good match. It was fast-paced. It was so many different high spots, and it just kept going. It helped with my ADD so I could keep up.
They definitely made sure you had something to see at all points and times. It wasn't necessarily easy to follow, but they made sure you had something to look at any point.
Well, you're probably going to see more matches like this. So, I don't know how you would train yourself to watch it faster, but I would imagine you're going to see a lot more matches like that.
Yeah, All Elite's tag team division is pretty much the best in the business right now. I don't think there's another stronger tag division anywhere.
Well, I just think they're focusing on their tag division. You know what I mean? Like, they have the tag teams, and they're letting people see them. Other promotions have tag teams. They just don't let people see the tag teams they have. They make up tag teams. So.
Yeah, Rob's got a point. It may not be that they have the best, because you could probably argue that fact that maybe New Japan, TNA's got a pretty robust tag division, but it's that they're actually using them. And at least for a while, I think the tag division will mean something. in AEW.
Well, I also think it helps that, when it comes to the tag division, you have two of the people on the committee that are calling the shots are one of the most popular tag teams in the world. So what else would they want to focus on,
Well, I mean, you've got at any given point at least 4 tag teams there that can give you match of the night quality every time out. So,
well, maybe not all of them, but probably 95% of them. I don't know if the Dark Order or whatever they're called can give you match of the night, but
well,
I think they're still a little behind the rest.
At this point, do you guys have a pick for who you think is going to win the tag titles to be the first tag champs?
Lucha Brothers.
I don't want to give spoilers. If that helps you any.
Okay, well let's keep going down the line, and we'll ask that question as we get towards the end here. So the buy-in ends with Private Party and Angelico and Jack Evans, and we get into
spectacular match.
Say one more time.
Spectacular match.
Yeah, I mean that was just like I said, it was fast paced. It was action, but it was active the whole time.
You can say it. I know you're a reformed bobblehead. That was one of the coolest tag matches you've seen in a long time.
I can't say enough about the finish sequence.
Say it again.
Those poison ranas that they hit, it was like one and then another and then another, and it went across. It literally went corner to corner because it started in one corner and worked its way all the way back around across the ring to where, and I haven't learned their names as well as I should yet, but one half of Private Party manages to go to the second rope, and he hits that Hurricanrana and pulls off, I think it was Jack Evans, into just a standard Hurricanrana. And when he hits that flip, he doesn't actually flip, though. He just kind of gets thrown into a diamond cutter, which just looks so sweet. It was a great finish to that match.
And you should also mention, too, that Angelico and Evans turned.
Yeah, there was a seemingly a sign of respect, a handshake with all parties involved, and as Private Party turns their backs, that was all she wrote. And Angelico and Jack Evans put the boots and fists and everything else they could to Private Party, ending their celebration. Oh,
but the Private Party does get what do they get, the bye?
They get a first round bye in the tag tournament. Yep.
So, all right, so that catches up to date. Yay!
By the way, their finish is called the Gin and Juice.
Laid back.
And then, even better, when they were announced coming to the ring, it was 170 pounds of cranberry and vodka.
Crazy.
Well, was it Beer Money that used to come out and they were measured in fluid ounces?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we go from the buy-in to the main show, and we start off with the 6-man tag: SoCal Uncensored versus Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and 12-year-old boy. No, I'm sorry, and Marco Stunt in a entertaining, but I had some questions about this 6-man tag. Rob, what did you think of Marco's Stunt?
I thought the match or the person.
Well, both. My question was initially about Marco's Stunt, but I am curious.
Oh, Marco, Pauly Shore?
Yeah.
I thought he was okay. I mean, I wasn't too, over the top impressed, oh, wow!
What was your comment that you said last night that it reminded you of?
Reminded me of Pauly Shore walking around, oh, look, they're the people that are supposed to be there, and here comes Pauly Shore. Like, hey man, I'm a wrestler too.
I will say this: he did well for himself. He did not have a bad night, but there was. My biggest question was like, okay, I guess they needed a chance or a way to get him a spotlight because he is going to be a big player there. I know that he is a very talented individual. I'm not trying to put him down, but so much. A lot of this is more in jest, but watching him, he just was so small compared to everybody else in the ring. It's like, wow, maybe the 205 division would be a better fit for him. I don't know.
You disappoint me, bobblehead.
I know. I had to throw a 205 reference in there. I apologize. Your thoughts on Marco's stunt, Brian?
Something tells me that those three were paired together somewhere along the way. Maybe an interview or something.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say they were somewhere in this long 2 years or year and a half or whatever it's taken us to get to this point.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to counterbalance the size of Stan's favorite Luchasaurus.
The next AEW World Champion. He's going to be the one that dethrones the current one.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard you go on and on and on about somebody since like Shawn Michaels.
He's just such an impressive performer. The guy's like 6'9", and he moves like a cruiserweight. He's ridiculous. And then the martial arts technique he's showing in the middle of the ring, just clocking people in the head, looking like Aleister Black, knocking people out. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think he's there to again balance out the the size of the 6-man team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, so AEW looks like they're going to have singles, they're going to have women, they're going to have tag, and they sure are pairing up 6-man teams. So I think you're going to have, something for SCU, to keep them in 6-man, and again, I don't. If you put another big guy there with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus,
yeah,
there wouldn't have been nothing you could do with them. You almost got to put the smallest guy on the roster in there.
I mean, the matchup itself was very fluid. There was a couple of points where I thought either Jungle Boy or Marco lost a bit of their hair. Maybe it was Jungle Boy where he got thrown over the top rope and there's just hair just dangling from the top.
Well, and Marco also learned that he got to turn the right way after he come flying out the ring.
Oh,
you better turn and look, see what's coming because here comes Jungle Boy.
Right in his face.
Got him right in the back of the head. Like, pow! Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I feel like especially with Jungle Boy, the sky is the limit for him. If he just keeps after it, he has such a huge future.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, he's got a certain look. He's got a, kind of quiet charisma about him. He hasn't really said much yet, but the crowd's behind him. The crowd behind Luchasaurus. So, if and when he ever splits or just go a singles route, I'm sure it'll carry over.
Just imagine in 20 years when they announce him at the wrestling match, ladies and gentlemen, your opponent, Jungle Boy. He comes out, he ain't no boy no more.
No longer Jungle Boy, me Jungle Man.
Jungle Dude.
Wouldn't that make it Tarzan?
Jungle Gigolo.
The what?
Jungle Gigolo.
No, I've heard everything. Jungle Gigolo. Wow. Yep, that happened, and that's okay. SCU wins this matchup in pretty cool fashion. I would have to agree with Brian. It does seem like there's a trios division that they're putting together, which, hey, that'd actually be pretty cool. Ring of Honor tried their hand at it. They were somewhat successful, but they don't really have enough people. At least they don't seem like they have enough people to keep it moving. But All Elite Wrestling seems like they're doing this one right. They're really, really putting it together really well. I will say that if I had to pick a team right now, I think that SCU's got a great opportunity, and quite frankly, I think that they could be the team that ends up being tag champs. Outside of that, I mean, Luchasaurus, I've talked about him quite a bit at every show we do, but I feel like he's another guy truly that just has an innate ability. Now, we haven't really heard him talk much, though. So promo-wise, I don't know where he stands, but as far as in the ring, he's pretty good. What? And I'm getting taunted by my kids as they're trying to eat Cheez-Its. Really, just open the bag. It's not that hard. Just open the bag. Open it. Oh, my God.
But Daddy ate them all. They're gone.
Right. Live radio here. This is what we get. We get Daddy opening Cheez-Its.
When did we get a cat?
When did we get a what?
A cat?
No, it's not a cat. It's just a cackling Kara.
No, like in the...
Stop.
All right. What's
Jeez.
next?
Guys are driving themselves nuts.
Put your kids in the closet.
Really, I'm going to knock my kids up with muzzles. All right, so we go from a very fun six-man tag to a very serious, but I think, and you guys would have to tell me where you stand, I think this could have been match of the night. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and call it match of the night. Kenny Omega taking on the debuting for All Elite Wrestling, the bastard, Pac, that guy. Pac. Welcome aboard, Pac. This matchup was hard-hitting. There was psychology to it that really, it was to me, it really told a story of, we're going to surprise you here. It just, you thought, because the way that Kenny Omega was in this match and as aggressive as he was, all right, finally Kenny Omega is going to start his winning streak. We're going to see this all turn around. But the way it ended, man, I felt like, and we talked about this quite a bit last night, it really seemed to me like legitimately Kenny Omega got choked out last night.
I mean, I liked the match. I thought the match was awesome. I mean, It was fast-paced. You never knew what was going to happen, all the different finishes. They're like, when's he going to hit it? When's he going to hit the trigger? Oh, he hit it. He hit it again. Oh, he hit it again. But I thought that move on the outside where Pac, Pickle, whatever.
Call him his new name.
Neville Pac.
Neville Pac. Jimmy Pop?
FKA Neville. There we go. Fell out, hit his leg on the railing. I thought the match was done. I was like, dude, that's a shattered shin. But then they went on for another 20 minutes after that, so.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega's facial expressions when he wrestles, that just shows you the ring psychology the man has. Always on in the match. So I agree, match of the night.
Brian, thoughts on Omega and Pac? Bastard, the guy.
All right. So I think that was probably the best AEW's put out yet, as far as a match.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we got Omega and Pac. If we couldn't get Omega and Moxley, I think that truly gave the viewing audience a taste of what Omega is capable of. And I'm not taking anything away from Pac, but there's a reason Omega's been getting all these 5 and 5.5 and 6-star matches. And I think he showed it last night.
Yeah, there was a huge focus on what both guys bring to the table and what you could really see from their matches going forward. Because with the 6-man tag that Kenny Omega was in previous to this, and then with his matchup against Jericho, to me it felt like you didn't get the full vision of what Kenny Omega is capable of. And then last night with him versus Pac, just watching the two of them go back and forth, trade holds, really matching each other for each high spot that was done. And then when it came down to the ending, you finally got a clear chance to see just how good Kenny Omega really is. And the ability for him to kind of switch it up is a little uncanny, because you see a lot of guys go out there, and I think Jericho's a lot like this, that are able to switch it up and work from kind of a high spot stance to just working the ground game and keeping somebody in a hold, to brawling, to, I mean, it just seamless, and just very entertaining overall. But yeah, this matchup, I could watch it again and again.
Yeah. I think that match kind of should quiet all the doubters, all the bobbleheads. Because if you can find me a WWE match of that caliber in this year, I'll entertain the argument. But I don't think you can.
Would you consider Omega and Pac to be maybe match of the year candidate?
Yeah. Especially on the American scene. I'm not gonna try and quantify, Japan or anything like that, because I haven't watched any New Japan this year. But on the American scene, I would say that's, if you can show me one better, again, we can have the discussion. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge Omega fan. I've been touting this guy for years, but you had everything in this match that you could want for. The possibility of serious injury, from the facial expressions to the high spots to the strong style to the suspense. There's no doubt we all thought Omega was going to win, especially there at the end. Mm-hmm. Have Pac, steal the victory from us. I'm a little upset personally because Kenny should have won. By God.
I mean, there was a definite feeling that, all right, this is how Kenny Omega turns this around. He starts his win streak here, kind of thing. And for all intents and purposes, most of the matchup, Kenny Omega was in control. It was Pac working from underneath and coming back and turning this matchup around. And then when he locked in the Brutalizer, I mean, first off, how twisted is that hold? I mean, outside of maybe because it really reminded me of when AJ Lee used to hit that octopus hold she used to do, and I think she called it the Black Widow. But it was that synced in, and then as Omega is going down, trying to fight his way out of the hold, when he tucked his chin in there, I mean, first off, the camera guys did a great job of making sure the way it came off, he was out. You had nothing. I mean, he was out cold, dead stick. It was just it really, and then the crowd, the hush of the crowd when it happened was, man, that was palpable. It was a very powerful victory for Pac.
Yeah, and again, maybe because it did look like he was out. Maybe this was one of those cases where he went down too far
Yeah.
and he knocked himself out. Had to go with what they had, But that's a nasty move, But Kenny, you should know better. Next time, fall backwards.
Yeah. Or something. You know what? That would have even been a cool finish if he had gone backwards and just kept him cradled up for the pinfall.
Yeah.
Although the way he was locked in, he was going out one way or the other, whether he liked it or not. Kenny Omega was not escaping that hold.
And again, I think whatever may have happened, I think when he was slowly moving forward, if he did go out, he probably cut his own blood supply off. He just went down a little too far. Well, his head was almost on the mat at one time with Pac on his back.
Yeah. Rob, were you surprised when Pac came out on top of this matchup?
Yes, but then my thing was like you all were talking about, like Kenny has been on the losing end since his AEW debut, and eventually he was going to get his due, and then it's still, So how does this play into the Moxley storyline? Is what I'm thinking. Like, all right, how Moxley can spin this. Like, see, I told you were a loser or something like that, But
yeah,
great match. Not the way I thought it was going to end. I thought for sure he was going to flip him around and then pin him. Like, Pac had him in that hold at the end, and how he went down. I figured he was just going to roll over and then do a roll up and pin Pac, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, I like your take on what they can do with Moxley. I mean, with the way that Omega came off with his promo, which I'm going to say this until I'm blue in the face, that was the best Kenny Omega promo all year long. Period. Just he lit John Moxley up from beginning to end. And when he was talking about when you went to the tournament in Japan, how'd you do? Did you win? Well, I did, first try. I mean, it was just like, jeez. It was money.
Oh, you win a little tournament? Nice for you. Did you win?
You got a little boo-boo on your elbow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just... I really feel like this is a great opportunity, and maybe it's just we've gotten so used to seeing great heel turns when it comes to these guys that we're just waiting, we're longing for, just a great heel turn. We'll talk more about what we thought was going to happen as far as heel turns a little bit later on, but, I mean, Kenny Omega is being set up for, in my opinion, most likely he's going to be their top guy as they go forward, but they're trying to make sure people understand and maybe resonate a little bit better with him on a fan level. Maybe that's what they're doing, and I'm speculating here because I really can't think for what they're doing.
So I think because we've talked about the not so stellar record of the best in the world right now.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of it probably has to do with the fans more than anything else. If they just come out and push him right to the top, I think it's going to sour certain people. And I'll lay money. There are probably a lot of people, not necessarily the ones in attendance based off of the shirts, but I'll lay money there's a lot of the audience that has never seen Kenny before W.
Yeah.
To me, he might be like in the old days where you would pick up Pro Wrestling Illustrated and you would hear about Rick Martel.
Mm-hmm.
AWA champion. You know, you had Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Rick Martel. And at one time, those were like the big three. And if you didn't get AWA, the only thing you knew about Rick Martel is what Bill Abner put in the magazine. And I think Omega may be a little bit like that because I know full well there aren't but so many people in the States that pay attention to New Japan.
Well, and I think that they're also, you know, like to Brian's point, you know, everybody assumed that as soon as Kenny Omega signed, then obviously it would be Kenny Omega for the world title.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just, I mean, come on now. He's the biggest name right now, I think, that I would say the biggest, but one of the biggest they've got. So you thought it would be easily Jericho versus Omega for the world title. Omega versus Cody for the world title. But, you know, they threw a curve in it, put Hangman Page up there. But, you know, I have a feeling that what they could be doing is setting up this whole, you know, Kenny lost again. And then he challenges for the world title. And they're like, oh, well, he doesn't have a real good record here in AEW. And, oh, boom. Then he wins, blows the roof off, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of see it more like Tommy Dreamer type thing. He's gonna lose until that crowd is solidly behind him, and then they're just gonna push that button, and he's just gonna rock it right through. Because I think this is also being done for the benefit of the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to try and create a true megastar with Omega. And I don't think you can do it, you know, like Hulk Hogan in today's society. You know what I'm saying? You kind of need somebody more like a Ric Flair who has no problem going out there and lose. You know, if it makes sense. I think that's what they're pushing for is be the first. He'll be the next megastar.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much benefit to having him there, but I happen to agree with you. I think they're doing it more along the lines of the benefit of the fans that just don't really know him that well. Mm-hmm. So they're giving them that exposure to this is what this guy can do with anyone. Like, this is what he's capable of. This is how he can talk. And every little piece that they put together for him at the end of this, I think you're right. I think there's going to be a point where they say, okay, now's the time. And they make the change, and then you're going to see Kenny Omega at the head of the pack. But for right now, he doesn't have to be.
Right.
Will he be there? Absolutely. I think that's almost a given. But right now, he doesn't have to be, and you've got so many different tremendous talents that you could tell stories with right now. It almost doesn't matter where you put Kenny Omega on the card, at least right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing too is maybe they want to see how good AEW is without him at the top right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they continue to grow, then people are going to people are watching. And great, we have Kenny Omega, but we don't necessarily have to put him up at the top and leave him there. You know, if the ratings start to dip or, you know, the crowd support wanes a little bit, then you can put him up there. And, you know, they'll get it back pretty quick.
Well, plus there's also that consideration of, okay, so all of these guys, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody, and Christopher Daniels, they're all in VP positions. So there is the question of, do these guys want to be putting themselves over, so to speak? And I kind of think that when it comes down to it, and when they're looking at, okay, this is what we're going to do, they truly are wondering, okay, does this make sense for it to happen this way? Not, you know, hey, I'm Kenny Omega, damn it, I should be winning every match. It's, does it make sense for me to win here tonight? Does it make sense in the story?
Yeah, ain't none of them got the, you know, all of them have losses.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah, all of them
got
have high-profile losses.
Cody
Well, I
lost
think
with the
Go ahead.
chair shot, didn't he?
I'm looking that up right now.
he beat Dustin.
Yeah, he beat Dustin, but the last one with the chair shot, or
That was
double,
after the match,
whatever
wasn't it?
was.
Did he beat Darby and then he got hit?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, now look, I'm not accusing him of it, but I'm just saying, how funny would it be if Cody's the only one of them that never loses? It's. I mean it more as a joke than anything else.
Well,
It would be funny.
Did they lose to the Bucks in the tag match?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
So I mean, so it looks like all of them at least have one loss.
Mhm.
The Bucks may have two. What, two?
They got the one last night.
They lost last night. Yeah. Did they lose that 6-man? They lost that 6-man, didn't they?
I'm looking it up right now.
I think maybe they're going with the philosophy of, you know what, they're trying to show people that, you know, the old school mindset of having the book was then you have the belt or your friends have the belt, you know?
Right.
And, oh, well, you know, I got the book, I'm in charge, so I'm going to make myself the champ. And I think one of the things they're trying to set out early is that they're doing this and they're going to have a status quo and a business model that doesn't involve with them necessarily being in the title picture.
Cody shows as 2-1. I'm almost positive they're counting that tag loss in his win-loss record. Adam Page is 3-1. Cody is 2-1. Kazarian 2-2. So yeah, they're including all of their tag matches here. So yeah, I would say that they're following pretty strictly to what they said they were going to do.
And what do they have, Omega? Just so I can.
0-2. 0-12. I don't know.
No,
Omega's
isn't he
at
like one and something?
he's 2-2.
Is he 2-2? Oh.
Right, but they're I mean, you got to look at the tag team thing, the 6-man.
Yeah.
But I think that's okay. I mean, what we're seeing here is, as long as they don't get crazy with it, you know, as long as it's not like, hey, you know what else? I think I need to beat Tony Khan tonight. Oh wait, no, I think I need to beat Cody tonight. You know, as long as they don't get stupid with it, I don't have a problem with it. As long as it makes sense.
Well, I mean, you know, listen to what they say that wins and losses do matter. So with them taking losses, you know, that kind of says something for them that it's not necessarily about them.
Yeah. Well, and that's again, I said it about Cody, but it was really a joke. But they do have this essence about them where it's very unselfish, where they just want to see the business grow and do well. They don't truly behave in any kind of fashion outside of professional. So, I mean, I want to be clear. I don't want anyone to think that anyone here on this show thinks that, because none of us do.
Stop for what you say.
I know. It's just... I almost did it again. All right, so we go from what I consider match of the night to a triple threat match called the Cracker Barrel Clash. What a great name for a matchup. The Cracker Barrel Clash. Joey Janela, Darby Allin, and the master of the staple gun, I guess, Jimmy Havoc. These guys, how do you describe this match, Brian? I'm not even sure how I would describe it.
I don't know how you describe it either. A train wreck, controlled train wreck, maybe.
A train wreck with a car accident with Daredevil. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah.
I do think that this was kind of the start of the lull for the pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't get like so crazy and over the top that they could have.
Yeah.
I was a little thankful for that. But by God, when you get them three in the ring, I want to see a bloodbath.
Well, you say they didn't get crazy, but don't forget the whole we're gonna put thumbtacks in your mouth and then tape your mouth shut.
Well, yeah, but you can't.
What the heck was that?
The skateboard with the thumbtacks.
Yeah, that was quite
insane.
Nasty, yeah. So, but even my 12-year-old daughter saw Havoc spit the tacks out when they went to tape him the second time.
I completely missed him spitting them out. I assumed he was gonna, but I didn't see him do it.
Well, he never really opened his mouth. Like, if you saw, they were pouring it down, then they had the camera angle where he kind of kept his mouth shut, and then it was like, oh, then he spit some. But, I mean, you forget they used a staple gun within the first 10 minutes.
I mean, he staple gunned himself.
Yeah, but if you notice, though, they never showed any staples.
That's true. Or blood trails or anything like that.
Blood.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you hear the names and you're like, well, by God, this is going to get good. And then you don't even see the staple.
Or the paper cut from the laminated piece of paper.
Guys, I am seeing a breaking news thing here. I apologize for the interruption here, but it is Casey Catanzaro, the previous winner of American Ninja Warrior.
Ricochet's girlfriend?
Yep, finishing up her run with WWE. Apparently an injury to her back, and that she had some displaced discs, and that, as they say, is that. It appears that she is actually done. Wow. That just came across the wire. Wow. Okay.
You might have should have probably paid her to sit at home and heal up.
Yeah, because if she heals up proper, you could easily pick her up, and she could be really, really good.
Well, there is a pretty strong women's division down in Florida right now.
Well, I'm just saying, there's a few different divisions out there that, she could fit in just about anywhere she goes. If she went to Impact, if she went to Ring of Honor, or, if she just happened to show up at an AEW event. Who knows?
Yeah, and then that just comes to mind that should her and old Ricochet really be that close? And,
And the question is, how happy is he? What would it take, Ricochet, for you to show up on my show right now? How many zeros need to be on the check? Dude, could you imagine a match with him and Pac?
Oh, I imagine he's got a few of those little hash marks in his paycheck or his contract.
Yeah.
That goes to those other pages in the contract of will be automatically extended if management agrees without considering you.
Well,
like what they did to Matt Hardy. He's like, I'm going to hit the Indies soon. I'm going to hit the Indies. Oh, never mind. I got another year.
There's a no fire rule going on right now, where unless you're in there and you quit, you ain't getting released. That is the going rumor right now, that you're not getting fired.
So is that why Peyton Royce did her little shout out to her husband on her official WWE Twitter handle?
Yep. It's so silly to me, but they're really gonna wish this never happened. I'm just saying. The Cracker Barrel Clash ends after, there was a superplex from Jimmy Havoc to Joey Janela going through an actual barrel, and then he hits a splash onto Janela through a barrel. Darby Allin does the coffin drop with a barrel. I mean, I think... Oh, yeah, there was even a tray of biscuits from Cracker Barrel that got used.
Such a waste of the tray of biscuits.
I know, right? What the heck?
You could have put... they should have stuck the biscuit in his mouth, then duct taped his mouth.
So, I think maybe line of the night, I don't know if you guys caught it, but I did catch it on a replay on YouTube where JR says, "Do it for the biscuit kid."
JR had a couple classic JR moments last night, so.
Yeah, he definitely did. So we go from the Cracker Barrel Clash to the Dark Order versus the Best Friends. All right, just to kind of give you the layout, this matchup gave the winning team a first-round bye in the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament. At this point, is anybody left in the first round? I'm just saying. Dark Order
Young
comes
Bucks.
out. Oh, are they even in the tournament?
How can they? I mean, how could they not
true.
be? I mean,
That's a fair statement. Can't have one of the best tag teams, period, not be in the tournament. Okay, so this matchup honestly wasn't bad. I didn't dislike it, but it did slow down, and I think Brian made a good point. This kind of carried over the lull in the crowd. Trent Beretta and Chucky T, I'm not big fans of them, but I do kind of like what the Dark Order is doing. So I was happy to see the Dark Order win, but there's still that whole thing where, kind of like what Brian said earlier, it just seems like the Dark Order is a little bit, or maybe it was Rob, that said, that the Dark Order is like a few steps behind the rest of the talent on the roster.
that was Brian. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, you picked Chuck the Best Friends, didn't you?
No, sir. I picked the Dark Order. And I still maintain that that's how they should be announced every time they come to the ring. Someone's got to do their best Chancellor Palpatine impression and say, the Dark Order.
Sounds more like Lord Voldemort.
The Dark Order.
Either way, it's got to be a much more evil sound. Guys, anything stand out for you as far as this tag match?
The creation of another six-man.
That's true. That is true, especially when you look at freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy making his All Elite Wrestling debut, his official debut. Not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily call his buy-in Battle Royal appearance debut as much.
Make sure that after we give Rob a chance at this match, that we back up a little bit to the triple threat match and quite possibly the spot of the night.
Okay. So, with that, Rob, what was your breakdown on this matchup? Was there any high points, low points that you really saw here?
I thought it was the lowest point of the night.
Oh, wow.
When it came to matches. I mean, it was just, I thought the Dark Order came out and they kind of, and then the reveal was kind of like, hey, look, who is this guy? And then it was like, okay.
So you weren't sold?
No, I wasn't. But, so.
All right. Well, I would kind of agree as far as the pace of this matchup. It definitely seemed to take the wind out of the sails of the fans, at least for a little bit. But I was kind of happy to see the Dark Order continue to win. But, Brian, we'll go ahead and go to you going back a little bit and saying about possibly the spot of the night.
Oh, there's no doubt this was the spot of the night. So, if you're familiar with AEW on the Twitter, you got to be familiar with Mr. Cornette.
Oh, no.
On Twitter. And the ruthless bashing that he does with AEW and Omega and the Bucks and all this. And you also got to be familiar with the fact that, AEW likes to take jabs at other people. So, in the spot of the night, in my opinion, is when Joey Janela, no stranger to Mr. Cornette, goes under the ring, pulls down a tennis racket, looks at it for about 10 or 15 seconds, and then proceeds to just toss it. Like, instead of even using the thing, he just literally says, "No, I'm not going to use this."
Well, don't forget the fact that he faked like he was going to throw up when he was looking at it.
Yeah. So, again, it's just stuff like that that's going to keep him in the news, because I'm sure Cornette probably had a cornea, because there's no doubt he was watching. I don't care what he says. I'm sure that was turned on and he was watching intently, and that rack had come out, and Cornette was probably like, "Oh, hell no." Ma.
I'll say this. It was, I put it to you this way. I asked Jim Cornette on Twitter, I was like, hey, did you happen to see, and I haven't gotten a response yet, but he hasn't blocked me yet, so there's still time. Yeah, I was that fan. Everybody always gets upset when you comment like that. Why do you tag him in that? Because I want to know his answer, dummy. It's a real question. What did you think of it? If he's going to get mad, great. If he doesn't get mad, okay. I don't care. I'm not, trying to upset him. I'm not trying to insult him. But I literally did get 3 mentions from online last night. Why did you tag him? Why does anybody tag anybody? I want him to read it. I want him to answer me. And I'll be on my way.
Yeah. In the way that only Jim Cornette could answer you.
Right. Thank you, F you, and bye. And I'd have been okay with that. Don't get me wrong. If he had told me to, pound sand, I'd have been fine. Because it was a response. I don't care if the guy yells at me or not. I mean, I would probably look him dead in the face and say, hey, I don't necessarily agree with you, but, you're still, one of the best of all time, and I respect the heck out of you. Because that's the truth. But whatever. Moving on. Bobbleheads. Bobbleheads everywhere. All right, so Orange Cassidy makes his debut, and okay, so when the lights first went out, did you guys have any thought that it would be anyone else?
I thought the lights went out. I wasn't even expecting anybody.
You just thought it was like a mess up with the lights?
No, not necessarily a mess up with the lights, but the Dark Order and the lights go out on the Dark Order. I mean, doesn't it make sense?
Yeah, that does.
Dark Order that, So that that was my thought process. It didn't necessarily have to be anybody. It's just the Dark Order and the lights go out.
How about you, Rob? Do you think it was going to be anybody else?
No, I mean, I thought it was going to be somebody more than who it was. And I just was like, oh, came back on. I'm like, oh, okay. It'd have been cool for, like you all said, somebody with the Dark Order or some, just somebody.
So the story out of this matchup is Rob's not sold on Orange Cassidy at all. He's like, yeah, all right, whatever, it's that guy. Is that an accurate paraphrasing?
I mean, I've been wrong before, so maybe I'm wrong again, but I just was like, oh, whoopee.
Well, the name of the game's reaction.
It's kind of like during the Monday Night Wars when they're like, who's going to be the new person for MWO? Oh, it's Virgil.
He's thinking Olive Garden. So we go from the Dark Order making their advancement in the Tag Team Championship tournament, Orange Cassidy making his debut, to the other half of the Women's Championship matchup for October 2nd being decided as Hikaru Shida took on Riho. Good news is we got a chance to hear how to pronounce the names. Bad news is this matchup it had to follow a match that kind of got the audience quiet, so they had their work cut out for them. But I thought this match was actually pretty good, and there were a couple of points where it felt like maybe these two ladies were a little bit nervous, or maybe they just had a couple of miscues, or whatever the case may be. But I felt like they rebounded very well and got the crowd involved, and Coming out on top was Riho, who will face off with Nyla Rose. As we said earlier, a 98-pound Riho going up against Nyla Rose, who I guess it's improper to really quote on what her weight is, isn't it? Boy, I'm in a quandary and a conundrum right now.
98 pounds.
Yeah. We just listed that. Okay, Rob, what did you think of this women's matchup?
I thought it was fast paced. I mean, I thought it was good. I thought the person I figured was going to win didn't win, but it sets up for an interesting David and Goliath kind of matchup down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I did think that there was a couple missed spots, and that's the thing with fast-paced matches. Either you're going to hit it all or you're going to miss some. And what do people normally pick on? The ones you miss,
Right.
But, I mean, overall, I thought it was well done. And for two people I'd never seen before, it was good.
So, all in all, so far, we're pretty positive on our reactions as far as how it came off on television. I feel like Riho did a pretty good job. Brian, were you expecting Riho to come out on top? I'm going to guess and say
that was insightful.
Yeah, he's either stepped away from the mic or he's hit mute. The matchup itself, again, as Rob mentioned, they did have a couple of spots where it got a little uncomfortable. One of which where Riho was going for the pin. That was just like, I don't think you're supposed to grab her there.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
the camera,
like, whoa.
And the camera just starts zooming in. I'm like, all right, now this is just getting awkward. There's got kids in the room. I mean, I'm like, how do you describe this pinfall?
You just lost your G-rated.
Yeah, right. It was a little too close for comfort there. But at the same point, I am curious as to how Nyla Rose and Riho comes off and how it appears on television. I'm curious as to what will happen going forward, and if in fact this is Nyla Rose's big shot, or are we going to get like a kind of like a Rey Mysterio feel where Nyla Rose gets caught off guard and that's where Riho becomes the first champ.
Right. Oh my God, looking at what the division has and what's coming down the pike, I could see them putting it on Riho.
Mm-hmm.
What's her name? Riho. Just because of the fast pace and stuff down the road. I'm not taking anything away from Nyla Rose. I'm just saying that's what I could see coming down the road. But maybe they're looking for that. Hey, you came to the mountaintop and now you're here.
Mm-hmm.
It really sets the interesting question for the future matches and stuff. So
yeah, there's a curiosity to this matchup where, first off, the way they're presenting it is almost like they're laughing in the faces of those fans that were like, why would you put Nyla Rose here? Why would you put Nyla Rose here? And now you're not going to have a choice because you're going to be watching October 2nd. It's almost a guarantee. And you're going to watch this match, and they're going to get everything they want out of you before they crown a champ. So I feel like this one was this match that they're setting up is going to be good. I am starting to wonder though if we're going to see like that surprise victory by Riho.
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be something fun.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it says they have a berth into the match, for October 2nd. That doesn't mean it's only going to be them two,
Well, very true. There's still a lot of ground to cover between here and there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that being a wrestling fan these days has taught us is, wait for the last minute swerve.
Right.
What's going to, oh, wait a minute.
Maybe Brandy Rhodes announces a fatal 4-way.
Right. Oh, wait a minute.
We want this match to be awesome.
Yeah. This match is going to be now a triple, quadruple threat match underwater
A match in the
on
swimming pool.
fire.
With flames around the pool.
Yeah.
Or a flaming cage match. How about that? A flaming cage match.
Oh, see, that reminds me of the back in the old WCW, the torture chamber.
Oh, yeah. The chamber of horrors where they had the electric chair in the middle.
And the top of the cage was electrified or whatever,
Yeah. Those were the days. Them was the days.
Or back in the old days where they had the barbed wire match where they take the ropes down and the ropes were barbed wire.
Oh, yeah. That was back when ECW was just crazy.
Well, this was back before ECW. That was like AWA stuff,
AWA did barbed wire?
Yeah. I mean, one of the first, and to me, one of the bloodiest matches I've ever seen in my wrestling life was Nick Bockwinkel versus Kurt Hennig.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just,
Wasn't
it
their
was just
title
like
match
blood
stopped
everywhere.
because of the amount of blood loss? Or
Yeah.
getting that confused with it on.
Yeah, it was just blood everywhere.
Ooh. Well, we go from finding out who's going to be in the women's championship matchup to a feud, a rivalry, possibly coming to an end. We'll see how it goes with the next few weeks, but it appears Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears, his story may have come to a close with this matchup. Cody and Shawn Spears go head-to-head after Shawn Spears leveled him with a chair to the head on the last event, which was Fight for the Fallen. Shawn Spears comes out with Tully Blanchard in an ice kind of attitude, like an icy soul kind of thing with the bright white contacts that he was wearing. That was kind of a cool look.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was. I mean, Shawn Spears definitely came out as a different, he wasn't the perfect 10. But it was a good match, hard-hitting match from the get-go. Cody came out looking the part that he is, he has spent time and money in establishing the gimmick and the look he's got. Him coming out with the Star Trek theme, it was neat to a point, but then it also was like, what's the point? Does it make sense?
Yeah, because initially the introduction or for Cody, the first thing you see, which wasn't bad at all, was Brandy Rhodes as, what did you say, Rob? 7 of 9?
Yes, 7 of 9.
So you see her first, and she's got Pharaoh. And then she starts walking, and you see Diamond Dallas Page in a red shirt. Then you see...
To Brian screams, "No, Diamond Dallas Page is a red shirt."
Well, the red shirt usually means that's the guy that's not coming back. And then, of course, in a kind of Captain Kirk-esque appearance was MJF, which, I mean, Brian, are you back with us?
Yes.
So I think all of us were expecting MJF to be like the Khan in this one. Dang, you just left my Star Trek reference. Screw you guys.
Well, I mean, I think it was cool because, I mean, if you think about MJF, and he was there to watch Cody's back, right?
Right.
So him being a yellow is, they were, and I'm going to show my dork side, but they were wearing, the Star Trek Voyager, Star Trek Next Generation type uniforms, which yellow meant security.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Cody had the red for command. MJF had yellow for security.
Okay. I didn't know that. Wow. Learning something new here on Corner to Corner. So
I don't know much, but I know Star Trek. Sorry.
So as Cody comes to the ring, now the question becomes, all right, who's going to escort him to the ring? And it turns out that it's going to be MJF being in his corner. So the matchup gets underway, and we get Cody and Shawn Spears in a very old school kind of. We joked about it the entire matchup. It reminded us of Sting versus Flair, and just some of the mannerisms and some of the things we saw, complete with the Sting comeback and Stinger splash. This matchup was actually very good, but I was really expecting to see, just something else happen. But it was cool to see some of the coolest parts. How about Arn Anderson hitting the spine buster on Shawn Spears?
See, that to me was one of the best parts of the night. When you had Tully out there kind of running and doing the old thing where every time you turn around, he was helping him cheat. He was taping up his fist. He was getting in the ring. He was, oh, wait a minute. Shawn can't whip Cody with his own belt. All right, well, then he took his belt off and handed it to him. But for that one added element for all of us old school fans of you expected Iron to come down and take up for Tully. But for him to come down and to turn on Tully, basically like, I'm taking up for Cody, it was kind of like, what?
Yeah, and Tully sold it like it was, I can't believe it. I mean, the whole time just so devastated as he backtracks to the back trying to figure out why Arn, why.
Like, why me, Arn, what?
I wonder if that's going to be like on the next Being the Elite or Road to, TNT or whatever they call it. If it's going to be why Arn, why. So Brian, your thoughts on Cody and Shawn Spears?
So I thought it was an alright match. Wasn't what I was expecting, I guess. To me, it didn't live up to what it should have been. So that's me.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of good interaction in this matchup. To me, it felt very very old school as to how they laid it out, and the ending where Cody Rhodes comes out on top after taking an all-out assault from Shawn Spears was good. I'm curious as to what happens next with Cody and what happens next with Shawn Spears. How does Shawn Spears, if you're in that role, what would you do to transition to your next feud?
What do you mean transition?
So do you think we just get him and Cody again, or do you see him just taking out somebody else?
Well, I mean, I think one thing that I've learned, and I'm learning from AEW, is they just don't do the one-off, like, hey, we had a pay-per-view and now it's over. There could be a multiple storyline with this. Like, Cody won, but, obviously Iron coming out, MJF or whatever, we all expected MJF to turn on Cody at the end, which didn't happen. But it could in the long run. I mean, Tully, like Brian has been talking about wanting to, a faction Tully. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have MJF and Shawn Spears, and it's in a faction.
I saw a comparison today when it came to MJF and Cody and how their relationship is, and they made it similar to how Sting and Lex Luger was in the mid 90s, 95, 96, where Luger was the bad guy and Sting was the good guy, and for whatever reason, everything else that MJF does from here is going to be bad guy stuff unless he's involved with Cody.
Mm-hmm. I guess, but maybe they're gonna pull the trigger on a face turn early. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they've got more money with him in his bad guy role, but we'll see what happens next. We go to the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks in the AAA World Tag Team Championship in the Escalera de la Muerte. And this was...
That translates to, oh my God, this is going to rock.
This matchup was a lot of things. There was brutality. There was lucha libre style wrestling. There was definitely a super kick party. I mean, what Young Bucks match is going to happen without a super kick party? And then, of course, there was also just some oh my God kind of moments that you just weren't prepared for, including the way that this matchup built up to its ending. I know there was rumor that that Phoenix had hurt his leg or hurt his knee, Ray Phoenix, and the way he performed, there was absolutely no sign of any injury that we could see.
Yeah, that came out, last week?
Uh-huh.
And then the promoter come out and said no, he was okay. But yeah, there was no signs of any lingering injury.
No, he was all over the ring. His performance was pretty well spot on. You really, really couldn't tell. So, for what it's worth, I'm glad to see that he was healthy and able to perform at a very, very high level. I wasn't really sure who I felt was going to win this match 100%. I believe I picked the Young Bucks. I think we might have all picked the Young Bucks. Did you pick the Lucha Brothers?
I think somebody did, based off of the titles probably going back to Mexico.
Yeah. We did have that discussion of, how is this matchup going to result, because the tag championships are getting ready to be decided for All Elite, and AAA is going to want their belts back, which... at the end result, hey, the Lucha Brothers come out on top, winning the championships back, and now they'll go back to AAA. But I'm curious as to see where this puts the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers in the way of the tag team tournament, because with so many tag teams and the focus really being on tag team wrestling right now, to me it's really anybody's guess, especially when you consider what happens after this matchup ends.
I mean, I foresee this being if not the finals for the tag team tournament, definitely the semifinals for the tag team tournament.
Yeah, there was so much that's been done with these teams that you have to feel like, what's the next round going to look like. This time they did the ladders and tables and chairs. Versus maybe next time it's steel cage, which could be insane.
Yeah, so I don't think you're going to see this again for a while. I don't think they'll meet the tournament at all.
So you think this is kind of the end of them facing off for a little while?
Yeah, for a while. Based off of the way it ends.
So,
and Clinton and whoever the other one was.
Yeah, so the matchup itself ends after one of the Young Bucks attempts to successfully yanks off Pentagon Jr.'s mask. And, seemingly the entire crowd just turns on the Bucks right at that same time, as soon as that mask comes off. And it was a very subtle kind of thing, because before that point, it was a very split crowd, as far as the crowd being behind the Bucks and being behind the Lucha Brothers. But then when Matt or Nick grabs the mask off of Pentagon Jr., the entire crowd switches sides, and now they are all behind the Lucha Brothers. But the Lucha Brothers managed to rebound and come back with multiple, just putting the Bucks through multiple tables at different points. And at one point, I want to say it was Matt Jackson that went through 2 tables, but ends up going through 1 table, and the other table hits him right square in the head.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah.
Well, it's also his foot. If you saw it, his foot, as he came off the rope, the ladder, his foot caught the top rope,
Mm-hmm.
which then kind of threw him from going out to just going straight down and kind of doing the best he can with what he's got.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know there's always a certain level of danger and risk involved with matchups like this one, and Matt Jackson, his wrist was all cut up. One of the metal pieces that was from the bottom of the table was seemingly wrapped around his head from the way he landed. It was ridiculous. But indeed, the matchup, the victors of the matchup was the Lucha Brothers. And then after the matchup, 2 guys come down to the ring wearing JFK and Bill Clinton masks. As they get to the ring, they put the boots to both the Young Bucks and to the Lucha Brothers. They take the masks off, and we get to see, for the first time in an AEW ring, Santana and Ortiz, formerly known as LAX, making their debut. And they were referred to by Excalibur as the Boricuas. So it seems like they've already got a name lined up.
I don't know if I'd be using that as close as that is to the Los Boricuas from the WWE. So I don't know if that would be their name or not. They may get into trouble over that one.
Well, that's right. WWE most likely still owns that trademark. I didn't even think of that.
And who is crackling? Somebody's crackling. Hyping or tapping or something.
It's not me this time. It's not my typing.
But yeah, so I don't know what their name will be, but I would imagine in my book that's your first tag team champion.
That would actually be pretty cool. I didn't really think of them as the first champs, but that actually could work out.
Yeah, I think they'll be your first. So just because they'll be the heel team, give somebody, like the Bucks an opportunity to chase them, or, any of the other tag teams can chase them for a while.
So, with this matchup, we did have our bet on the time and how long it was going to go. The match itself did go. The listing there was right at 21 minutes. So, again, Brian gets a Impossible Burger or something. We gotta live up to our agreement.
I still think you got to be close enough without going over. So that's me.
All right, it's not Bob Barker; it's Rob Barker.
He went over. Don't matter.
Yeah, good luck convincing him to go with that. So we go from the ladder match, which, tag team wrestling in AEW is ridiculously healthy. You're not going to get past that ever. WWE's got a lot to learn from how they do it. To the crowning of the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Now, to really set the table for this matchup, you had to take a look at the journey from both guys, and this is where I wanted to give credit where it's due. AEW put together a tremendous amount of highlight packages, and they made sure they were just the right length so they weren't spending 10, 15 minutes setting up for it. It was, 2 to 3 minutes at the max, and you got the gist of the highlights and got to catch up, and they were able to clean up the ring and be ready for your main event. I really liked how they did that, and I feel like the production crew for All Elite Wrestling, not just for this matchup, but just overall, they're ahead of the game. They could be leading the way.
Their production?
yeah, as far as camera work, highlight reels.
Well, let's. I say we cover the match, and then we can talk all day long about who does and doesn't do production. Right? WWE.
I mean, I was impressed with the turnaround from the cleaning of the previous match. I knew there was going to be some kind of lead in to give them time to clean up because of the fact that there was broken tables and debris everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that when they got done, the video package and the talking that they did, it wasn't long until they were like, all right, and now here's the main event. And also they set the standard that they're like, oh, it's a pay-per-view. We'll go as long as we want to. Ha ha ha.
Well, I mean, and that's just it. They gave this matchup a lot of time. Adam Page comes out to the ring. Now, I remember reading that Page had stated he was going to, if he won the World Championship, he was gonna leave on a horse with the title. And of course, Jericho in his build up for this matchup, saying he has to win, he can't lose. If he loses, his legend dies, which was really strongly worded, but came off very well in the promos. These two guys went toe to toe and just brawled, just fought it out. There was, some holds in between to really kind of sell the psychology and the pain that Adam Page was going through, and at the same time, you got these moments where it really, really looked like Adam Page was going to come out on top. But in what I consider to be a bit of a surprise, as Adam Page is on his way to victory, in my opinion, with the Deadeye, Jericho kicks out, and then as he attempts to go for the buckshot one more time, Jericho levels him with the Judas effect. And let's put this in proper perspective. Chris Jericho has made a back elbow smash into a finishing move. Let that sink in for a second. Are there any guys you can think of that can make a back elbow just devastating in the form of a finish? But Chris Jericho did it, and with it, Chris Jericho becomes All Elite Wrestling's first ever World Heavyweight Champion, and a really great matchup between these two. The match itself was tremendous. Do you come away from this matchup feeling like All Elite Wrestling has a long-term plan with what they want to do going forward with this title?
Well, I think I came across it from this match saying that they wanted to cement their place. They wanted to put their stamp on the world and say, hey, we're here. And how better to do that than put your belt on somebody who's a legend in other places, I'm not taking anything away from a Hangman Page, but this is how we're going to do it. They're putting it on Chris Jericho that has the lineage in different promotions all around the world. And to some, that may give it legitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
But neither one, Adam Page is nothing to be ashamed of in this match. This match was, from the get-go, was high-paced and was, he deserved to be there. And it's no doubt in my mind that he will have that belt eventually in AEW.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's the sky's the limit for Adam Page. When you look at just what they're doing and how they're building this company, it was clear that they had a plan from what I could tell. Brian, did you feel like they had a solid plan when they came out and Jericho ends up the champion?
Well, I think they've had a plan since the beginning. They've been calculating what they've done this whole time. I was a little shocked they went with Jericho. I figured that they'd give Page the rub there, but it's not like you can go wrong with Jericho. He is the the star. He's got the name recognition. He's got his own band, for Pete's sake. So, I guess they pulled the wool over all their eyes. Went with Jericho. Sorry, I'm rewatching part of that match where he gets handed the object.
Yeah.
The bad handoff.
Yeah, that was. If there was a flub or any kind of whatever you want to call it, I think that's really the only one that I noticed. And that one was just kind of glaring because when Aubrey Edwards, when she reaches out from the middle rope and just does what she does, the all of us, the three of us, were like, "Oh, we know what's going on." And there, we had our kids sitting with us watching, and we all kind of looked at each other like just knowing what was about to go down and what was about to happen. It was real at that moment. We knew, and then of course because Jericho had just taken the rolling elbow to the eye, so when he goes outside, and Aubrey just kind of reaches out there, like she did it in a way where she was trying to make it look like she was checking on him, but it was still a fairly obvious handoff. And then when Jericho comes back wearing the, to quote Gordon Soley, proverbial crimson mask, it was definitely a moment there that we all were like, well, we know how this is going to go. And then the guys started saying I was going to pass out, and then it got a little, I don't remember what happened after that. You guys have to tell me.
Tell you what.
What happened? Wow.
Just a joke? You didn't watch it?
Wow. Yeah, I guess that joke didn't go well.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, moving on. So Jericho manages to rebound from from the rolling elbow that he took from Paige, turns it around, and like I said, when he levels Paige with that Judas Effect elbow, I would say I was surprised that they went with Jericho. I don't think it's a poor decision, but I will say this. There is, as we've noticed, when it comes to reactions on social media, you're going to get all sorts and all types. But if you're the one guy that I would not feel like they should be reacting at all, at least publicly, would be Baron Corbin. But, yeah, Baron apparently feels like he has a role to play in this. So Baron comes out there and says, you complained about WWE giving the same guys the same opportunities and the same chances and putting the belts on old guys rather than the young guys. But this is what you get with AEW. And then he called all the fans crybabies.
So, do that again? Say that again?
So, Baron Corbin goes on, I believe this was an Instagram post, and basically calls out fans for complaining that WWE does the same thing, puts the belt on old guys and gives only the same guys the opportunities instead of the young guys, and just basically says, hey, you're seeing the same thing that WWE does, but you're going to call this great? Question mark, and then he calls all the wrestling fans crybabies.
Well, he's a crybaby, so, he takes one to know one, I guess.
Wow. Just wow. I understand that, he should be loyal to where he's at and all.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't you call me when you win your first world title instead of being the GOAT and putting another title to your name?
I mean, he gets one win in the tournament. Now he's all of a sudden the world champ. instead of doing what good business would have been and just keep your mouth shut and letting it be what it be and let your work stand on its own, you got to throw the shots, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about just anybody.
Mm-hmm.
This Chris Jericho.
Right. And I mean, all of us have said, you know, we were somewhat surprised that they went with Jericho, but not because of the fact that Jericho can't do it. I mean, Jericho has proved at every step of the way, every twist and turn, that he can keep up with the best of them. And he is almost 50, but he's still working just as well, if not better, than he has in about 10 years. So, you know, yeah, okay, I get it. I see where you could be going with that, but this isn't exactly Goldberg at The Undertaker at Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? This
isn't age in the cage.
Yeah, this was Chris Jericho working at a high level with a top-notch talent and winning a championship that, quite frankly, you'd be stupid to not give him at least a chance to put it on a credible star, a main eventer, and somebody that can carry your company and promote it the way that you would want them to. I don't see that as a detraction. And quite frankly, the fans that complained about it were complaining anyway. It just happened to be Chris Jericho that got the label.
Well, I mean, did you not see the interview that Chris Jericho did after the match where he had the belt and he was walking around? You know, and he just did it like it looked like a shoot. Going backstage like, oh, look, it's the Young Bucks, you know? Thanks. You know, and what are you looking at? And, oh, look, it's the paramedics. They like Chris Jericho. Where were you when I was bleeding to death in the middle of the ring?
Yeah, the aftermath on YouTube was great. Jericho walking through. Remember when he goes to the table and he finds the champagne? He's like, oh, there you go. Now I can celebrate a little bit of the bubbly.
Right.
He calls it B-rate salami. That's what Chris Jericho gets, B-rate salami. I mean, it was almost as if, I wonder if maybe he saw that and just decided to run with it. As far as what Corbin said.
Oh, and it's probably just, I mean, it's their way of, you know, like, one thing that you got to realize that Baron Corbin doesn't understand is Jericho's at a point where he's with a company that just says, you know, be you. Go out there. So, I mean, they're going to call it as it is. They're going to call you on the carpet. You know, it doesn't matter.
So I guess when Jericho loses the title, then Corbin will come out and call the fans stupid again for, you know, letting this go on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, y'all were dumb enough to fall for it when he won the title. Now you're dumb enough to fall for it when he loses the title.
Yeah, I mean, Baron Corbin isn't necessarily known for his social media etiquette. He's not made great decisions on social media, and I think that serves as a detriment to him as he moves forward as a competitor, but also as an employee.
I think the problem is Baron Corbin thinks he's clever, right? Because Lord knows how easy it is to call fans stupid, right? Especially when we're dealing with pro wrestling.
Right.
Well, right? That's why we have terms of marks and all this other stuff. Oh, but you people are so stupid. Ah! Well, there's your big problem. Because nobody likes you. Nobody cheers for you. Hardly anybody boos for you. Most of the time, they don't even pay attention to you. But because you're there, you think that you have the ability to just voice an opinion on what the fans who ultimately, you know, are there to watch a product.
Right.
You know, you think your opinion should matter? Well, it doesn't. Shut up. Until you win, I mean, has he won an IC title?
Baron Corbin to date has been U.S. champion, and that's it. Yeah, one time, and I don't even think he held it for Money in the Bank winner. He did win Money in the Bank.
Oh, yeah, but Money in the Bank doesn't count. Because it only counts if you cash it in.
Ah, okay. I'll give you that. That makes sense. So, yeah, U.S. title. We'll just give him credit on that.
I mean, 'cause realistically, we're counting a briefcase.
Right,
Well, if he
right.
held a cold plastic briefcase,
It looked good.
my God.
It had his Lone Wolf logo on it.
Baron Corbin is the second coming of the GOAT because he's held
The GOAT! God bless Baron Corbin. And all he does.
He's the medalist wrestler of the year.
What a horrible idea.
Then he promptly shaves his head and changes his gimmick to the commissioner.
Right. Yeah. So back to AEW and their pay-per-view. Wow, a solid outing by All Elite Wrestling. I think this really sets the table for October and sets the tone, sets the attitude. Everything you could ask for in a pay-per-view, you got. You got drama, you got lucha action, you got comedy, you got submission wrestling, you got hardcore wrestling, you got straight up just standard tag team action, you got debuts, you got thumbtacks for crying out loud. You got biscuits for crying out loud at this pay-per-view. And all in all, you got a great lineup. Do we want to try to rate this pay-per-view? Do we want to give a grade to this pay-per-view?
I mean, I'd give it an A, a solid A.
All right.
Wouldn't give it A plus, but I'd give it an A.
Okay. Rob, what do you got, man?
I'd give it I'd say A. High B. A. Stan.
I would probably go the direction of I'm probably right there with you guys, like B plus, A minus, something like that. I feel like this match or this pay-per-view was solid. I think it's probably the best stateside pay-per-view we've seen probably since Double or Nothing, and better than anything WWE's put out in about at least 2 years. And I'm being generous there. But yeah, I was very, very impressed. I really enjoyed it. I think All Elite Wrestling continues to have compelling content. Their matchups are good. Their talent is good. And I'm curious to see what happens next. And that's kind of the goal, right? You always want to leave your audience wanting to know what's going to happen next. And that's where we're at. I mean, it's a solid show, very entertaining. The slow points were greatly outnumbered by the fast points, and I think that's really what you want.
Yep, I agree. I mean, it was a good pay-per-view. It was a fun time. There was many matches. There were high points, low points, and you know what? As you said, it leaves you wanting to see, hey, what's going to happen next?
That it does. Whew. Next on the calendar, if you're looking and trying to keep track, Clash of Champions is September 14th. If you're asking us right now what the card is, I have no idea. That's how well it's been prepped up. NXT debuts on September 18th on USA. That's going to be a 2-hour event. They haven't given any matches yet for that, but with all of the rumor and innuendo that's been going around, nice try, Enzo Amore, by the way. It was a good try. Trying to get back in the public eye. Apparently there was a rumor Enzo said that, or had been spreading, apparently, that he and Cass were on their way back to WWE for NXT. Which Triple H promptly goes to his promotional department and says, I need this shut down. I want you to tell him that we want absolutely nothing to do with it. So
Right.
that's what his team does. They all refute the rumor. They start responding to the dirt sheets and saying, nope, we want nothing to do with it. And then on public forum in an interview, Triple H says, nope, we have no interest whatsoever in their return. It's a
And
pretty
who would?
stiff shutdown. Enzo really burned a lot of bridges before he even was before Enzo Amore was ever alleged in any criminal activity, he was already burning bridges. So, yeah, okay, I'm willing to be wrong, but I just don't see it happening. I don't think he's coming back. Was he entertaining? Sure. Did he have potential at one point? Of course, but that's what happens to the best of these guys. They have potential and then they ruin it with something stupid. Just ask Barry.
I mean, to me, like, they were already looking to get rid of him. It's just he helped them with it,
Right.
Instead of them trying to sit there and find a reason to fire him, he gave them a reason, and they're like, "Oh, here's our out," and they gave it to him.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see it. I mean, what did he have? I mean, he quickly became a mouthpiece he was the mouthpiece for the team, but then when they broke them up, he lost all relevance. They tried him at 205 Live, and all that did was run 205 Live into the ground. So, anyway. Another story for another day.
Indeed it is. A great weekend for wrestling. I really enjoyed this show, but at the same time, it was just good to watch a pay-per-view that wasn't like, oh God, here we go again.
Oh, you mean so it was really good to watch a pay-per-view from Chicago and have Baron Corbin come out and they start chanting for CM Punk.
Wait, what?
That pay-per-view you're talking about?
No, I was glad to watch a pay-per-view where that didn't happen. I've never gone to a WWE show in hopes of seeing Baron Corbin.
Yeah, maybe Baron Corbin should remember that. They don't chant CM Punk at AEW. Even when he was there the day before.
Right.
Or wherever Starcast was.
And I think that just speaks to the amount of respect that AEW has for their fans, and vice versa, the amount of respect that fans have for AEW.
Well, maybe it just talks about the caliber of Baron Corbin and the rest of the WWE.
Or the fact that the card was going and the matches were fast-paced and people were invested and they didn't go, oh, hey, what else can we do?
Yeah, that's true also. They didn't have to be bored and start chanting stupid stuff because they had something good to watch.
Even during the slow periods, where they very easily could have tried to hijack it, they never attempted it.
It really seemed like the fans for All Elite Wrestling, and this has been, I would say, the case each time out, it's just a different type of fan. A fan that just enjoys good wrestling.
Yeah, it's a true fan of wrestling, not the bobbleheads. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of us watch the WWE, but the majority of WWE are bobbleheads. Again, they'll sit in their house when there's an indie show going on right across the street and won't think about watching it. But you put Raw on, oh my God, they're glued to the TV. They're not fans of wrestling, they're just fans of the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
They're your bobbleheads.
Yeah.
Oh, that Baron Corbin, he's such a good guy. I sure do hope he wins King of the Ring. Jeez. A tournament we haven't had in 20 years, but God, the significance. Maybe they'll give him a metal briefcase to hold.
Well, he's done that. I think they'll give him a crown and scepter.
Oh, there we go. King Corbin.
Because that works for anybody except the Macho King.
Really? King Corbin. That's it. Put it on a t-shirt. Print it.
Oh, I'm sure they already are.
Oh, that's so sad.
Because, again, they've lost such boos and jeers. And they're so out of touch with their audience right now, it ain't fun.
So, I guess that is, as we say, that. All Elite Wrestling hits, in my opinion, a home run. Great show. And I guess that's going to do it here for our evening edition here of Corner to Corner Wrestling Radio. Quick shout out and thank you to, of course, our partners of Ultimate Championship Wrestling, NoDQ.com, and LordsPain.net. I want to thank them, as always, for their continued support. We appreciate them. You can always catch up with Corner to Corner on Twitter at C2C Radio Show. You can check us out just like you're listening to us right now on the website at c2cradioshow.com. Feel free to contact us. Send us your recommendations, your suggestions, your questions. Anytime, just hit us up on the Contact Us page. Just click right there where it says Contact Us, and we'll be happy to respond to you. And we might even read it on the air. You never know. With that being said, you can catch up with Rob where on social media?
Rob Hefner on Twitter, or C2, Rob Hefner C2C on Twitter, Rob Hefner on Facebook.
And, of course, you can catch up with Brian at STRCP21 on the Twitter, Brian Taylor on Facebook, and you can catch me at Stan Grubb on Twitter, and Corner to Corner is also on Instagram, corner, the number 2, and then corner.
Wait. I got a question.
Go for it.
What are we doing right now?
We are closing up the shop for the night. Wait, what?
So we started talking about Baron Corbin and I fell asleep.
Oh, hey, welcome back, Brian. So while you were sleeping,
You didn't miss anything.
yeah, that's true. Because it was a Baron Corbin match, so everyone was sleeping with you. Baron, you dumb man. Why, dude? Why? Why would you want to be the guy? Seth Rollins, if he said it, all right, you know what? He gets kind of a pass in the regards of he's being loyal. But he's also talented and has done stuff. You know.
Yeah. You're there because in the 80s, you'd be the Barry Horowitz of the roster right now.
Hey, give him a pat on the back. Thanks again to everybody.
Mike Sharp.
Oh, Iron Mike Sharp. Yeah, there's a throwback. He
Don't
had
disrespect Iron Mike Sharp.
Lee Scott from the old WCW days. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We definitely appreciate you. We will see you next time right here.
Link.
Ooh, hey, that's my gimmick. We'll see you next time right here on C2CRadioshow.com, Spreaker.com, and the Beyond Ringside Radio Network. Have a great night, and we'll catch up with you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Have a great night, everybody.
Did it?